Hi everybody, welcome back to Stamping School. This week I'm using this designer paper called Masterfully Made. It's in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, in the annual catalog. I think it's on page 132. And in the catalog, it's so hard to see how cool it is because it's little tiny pictures. You can always go to the StampinUp.com store and search for Masterfully Made, and they'll put, on the designer paper, they'll usually have one sheet of each, and you can scroll through and look at them all, which is kind of nice. Anyway, this was the request from Rachel in Canada. She said, can you please show some projects? I don't want to cut it up unless I'm really sure. I get that, because this paper is cool. This is one of those photo realism, I think they call it. I believe in this case, the Stampin' Up! Artist who created the paper tore a bunch of paper and created these scenes, and then they photograph it. So I would love to see the original. That's just all these different layers of paper. It's so cool. And this one is a mountain scene, which is fun. And the back is just a whole bunch of embossed and torn cardstock and paper. Looks real, doesn't it? Let's see. This one, I've used some of it, but you can imagine the other half. And this one is just a whole bunch of pieces. That took a long time to do that. This one looks like this. And it has all these torn flowers. So pretty. I'll try to use several pieces so you can see. And this one, a whole bunch of torn paper flowers and paper stems. The whole thing is just done with torn paper. And this side, either the parakeet or the lemon lime twist, a bright fresh green. This one, there's slight print, faded print back here, very hard to read, but just pretty, pretty floral. And this one is painted. And then just a tone on tone back here. Same thing on this one. You've got sort of a worn edge in the blues with a very, very faint type over it, and the pretty painted flowers, and that on the back. So we're going to use some of the torn paper. Right, we're going to start with the easiest one. This is just taking a 2.5 inch by, I think, 4 3/4, and just pulling out the colors that's in there. So we've got Peacock and Lost Lagoon, and I think it's just a real easy way to use little bits of this so you get quite a few pieces out of one sheet. Layer it, and then I did emboss the card. Can you see the little cross hatches? But you don't have to, but I also felt like when I put it on the card, it was feeling a little flat to me, so that I did a little embossing here, but I also tore a little edge because the paper, has so much tearing in it. I'm just taking a 1 inch piece and tearing the edge. I'm going to glue that down the side. When I added this sentiment, it almost looked like it was too stark. It needed this white to kind of balance it out a bit. So just adding this little tiny bit of torn white paper, to me, made all the difference. And then I can just glue that down. Get a nice border. I didn't emboss this one, so see how it looks. And this is just a little stitch circle and a little bit of this lime ribbon. I'm going to put this on the back. This is easy. Easy one, Rachel. The easiest one. Taking a little bit of my dimensional stuff here. A big piece of that, and then I'm just putting a little loop, putting it on the back here, and then sticking it on. Now if you want to do rhinestones, if you want to do some other stuff, that's great, but this is it. This one I stamped in the darker ink. I did Peacock, and this one I stamped in the Lost Lagoon. I like this one better. I thought I would like this one better, but I like this better. Easy, easy. All right, now the next one looks like this. It's got some flourishy stuff, some little leaves behind here, but look at this paper. You don't have to do anything. It's all ready to go. So I've got a Berry Burst card right here, and 5.5 inches by 4 inches because I want it to go to the edges, but I just want this to show right here. Now at the bottom of this one, I actually glued on one more piece of torn paper. So on the back here, you can either flip this up or just take another piece, tear it off, and just glue it to the bottom. That's it, if you want to, just to add a little something textural here. But I don't know if it's necessary, to be honest. I think it's kind of good the way it is. Look at this side. Even that would be pretty. Now, little tiny words down here, be careful. There's barely there, but I did stick one upside down when I was first playing around with the paper and didn't notice it, so just watch out for that. These little guys all come from Timeless Arrangements. I'm just starting to play with this. So it's got these little additions at the bottom, so you've got something to glue on, which is kind of handy. But I think there's more to do with this. With these slots in here, I just haven't played around with it yet. But I did do these little sentiment banners and some of these guys. So these go on super fast. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue right here. And I've got Peacock in this one. See, it looks like that. I do like that it's so easy to add these and just, you know, you don't have to fiddle around with it. It's really nice to have that little base on here to hold everything together. And there. And then a little bit of silver right there. And then all I did was just put on my sentiment right here with some more dimensionals. I stamped it in the Berry Burst, and that's coming from the Timeless Arrangements, but whatever you have fits. You know, it'll look really good with whatever. And if you don't have these, then just go punch something that has some leaves or something that looks like that, and it's gonna look good. I think that one's pretty easy. This one was something I was goofing around with. I was talking with my friend Nancy in Indiana, and while we were chatting, I was doing all this little doodling on here. So this is just a peacock card, and then I had punched out this circle, punched this out, and then stuck it in there, and then added my sentiment, and this was just embossed with this pretty embossing folder, this one right here. And while we were talking, I took my glitter pen and just followed all around on every little flower. This is super easy. Nothing fancy on this one. I've got room to write my note here. It's just fun. So if you like to doodle, this is a fun way to do that. Here's another one I goofed around with that I wasn't really sure if I loved, but it's using the Around the Bend dies. So I just took a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of that paper, and I cut off that little scallop. And if you don't have this, you just use scissors and just do that right there. Stamp the sentiment here, and this is just a little piece of that designer paper, or you know, you could just do white. I think white would look nice too, like that. Might even like that better because I did a white flower. So just white flowers and a little bit of gold cord and some peacock leaves. It's easy using that paper. I wanted to use that big piece that has the trees in it. So I ended up doing this one, and I added a few more textural elements to it, and even this little sun here. And I think I'm gonna avoid these, but I'm gonna add some more of these trees, and I'll show you how to get the sun down in this piece of paper. The hardest thing to do with this paper is cut it, because it's so pretty. But I'm gonna bring it in here. And you know, this is 4 inches by 5 1/4 is pretty standard. So I'm gonna cut this in half at 6 inches. Right here, I'm gonna save that for something else. And then I'm gonna turn it this way, and then I'm gonna cut this down to 4. So I'm gonna have some extra blue sky. And I might even want to go just a little bit more. Let's do 4.5. Yeah, I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to come back down here and cut this down to 4. what I want to do is get a nice 4-inch layer, but I didn't want to cut off too much of my mountains, so there we go. Right there. And then I'm going to cut this down to 5 1/4. And there's my mountain. Now this piece I'm going to add right at the bottom. This is the little piece that I cut off. And I'm going to glue this on right here at the bottom. And I'm going to tear it just a wee bit if I can do it. Yep, there we go. Going to use your fingernails, tear it just a little bit. I want some of this little white edge to show. I'm going to use my fingernail and just kind of rough it up a little bit, just like that. I'm going to glue that at the very bottom, just to give it a little bit more texture down here. Now, where to put my sun? I think on this card, I'm going to do it over here. I just punched this out. This is just a 1 1/2 inch circle, whatever you have. And I'm going to use my bone folder and break it up a little bit. Now on this one, I embossed it. I don't like it as well. I really want it to be soft and fuzzy, so we're going to do that old faux suede technique, where you just go back and forth on your paper, back and forth until it starts to split. And you're going to see it happen. This cardstock is really thick, but there's layers to it. So as you go through, if you don't have a bone folder, use something like it. Use a pair of scissors, but be careful, don't open them. You know, just use it like this, carefully back and forth, like this, with scissors. Kind of like you're curling ribbon, until you get to the point where it starts to come apart, and you'll see it. And if it's not there yet, don't rush it, okay? Keep working it, and then you'll start to see it. And if you're lucky, you can get 2 out of 1. Yay, we did 2 of those. All right, now we need to cut a little slit here. Unless you just want to stick it on, that's fine too. I kind of like the way it's poking out from the mountain. And if you have your take your pick tool, Stampin' Up! Has new attachments for these. They are in the annual catalog. This is the one that picks up stuff. Okay, it's got the sticky stuff on the end. This will come out, and there is an X-Acto blade, or a craft blade they call it, and it is super duper sharp. It's nice. So I'm just gonna go right here and just add a little slit and stick my sun in there. I'll need a little bit more. This thing is super, super sharp. Stick that down in there. The sun's rising behind the mountain. Now stick down. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to do that. Add my little layer on the navy card. I love that already. Now, if you want to add a little bit more dimension, you can take a piece of the coordinating paper and you can tear your own mountain. And what I found is actually easier is if you just cut this like that, and then instead of tearing it, just rough it up with your fingernail. Or if you don't have that, if you don't have fingernails, rough it up with scissors instead of trying to tear it. Okay, and then you can stick that down in here. So we've got this little lip down here, remember, from this little strip that we put here, and you can nestle that down in there. I think I'm going to make it just a touch smaller. And if you want to add, so it just adds another layer of texture. Just kind of squiddle that down in there. There you go. So that gives you a little place to tuck your sentiment too. So if you just tuck this right in there. See? And when they touch the card, they're going to be like, oh, so this is flat and this is smooth, but this isn't. So I think I like the textural part of that. And then your little sentiment can just stick on wherever you like. I kind of like this one. And that's it. So all that extra little texture in there. So that's what I made. I'll put the recipes down below for you. You can click the link and go to the Word document with all of these. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.